Tonight on the Local Live, the U.S. Senate has approved the Mamaroneck Village flooding project. Judge Judy made an appearance at Larchmont Shore Club for the Her Honor program. LMC TV is back from the Alliance for Community Media Conference. And on tonight's roundtable, the LOFT LGBT Center and Center Lane are here to discuss coming out and local support. Good evening. It's Thursday, October 18th. I'm Rebecca Berman, and welcome to the Local Live. Congress has approved a project first proposed in response to destructive flooding of the Mamaroneck and Sheldrake rivers in 2007 and 2011. By a vote of 99-1, the U.S. Senate approved the American Water Infrastructure Act, which includes the Army Corps of Engineers flood mitigation project for Mamaroneck Village. The act awaits a presidential signature. In a release on the Mamaroneck Village website, Mayor Tom Murphy said the village will, quote, continue to push hard to get the funding necessary to provide flood relief for our long-suffering residents, end quote. And in other Mamaroneck Village news, a moratorium on development was extended through March 16, 2019. At last week's village board meeting, consulting services firm NV5 presented its findings. The results of the traffic analysis caused a few stirs, especially over the model used.
To what extent do you test the data that you collected for traffic volumes?
We don't know the distribution of commercial to residential and the traffic volumes.
Those ITE numbers, are those based on research and sampling, correct?
Correct, yes. Yeah. It's standard practice for trip generation.
I don't think you can ever know how one model applies exactly to every single municipality in America. I think it's safe to say that, the Village of Mamaroneck is a typical American community that probably has the same types of patterns.
But it would be a different set of numbers if you did Detroit, Farmington Hills versus the Village of Mamaroneck. So presumably you're correcting for rural versus.
Well, and also, if you go outside of the New York area and you go to a suburb of Chicago, you go to a suburb of Cleveland, they're much more spread out. They have much more area. This is, one of the original suburbs, and we are on top of each other. And I think that impacts. I'm sure everybody in this room could tell you a story about trying to get from point A to point B around here, and it taking twice as long as it used to take 25 years ago. 2 years ago. Or a year ago.
So it's not actually about the type of development that you're looking at. It's more about behaviors and choice. So each person in a single day chooses to go to a retail establishment, and it takes up that much percentage of the trips every day. So I think that's a fairly standard share that he's applying.
The moratorium was extended to allow time to complete a study, coordinate with an update of the comprehensive plan, and to adopt recommendations. You can view the study on the village website, and you can find the entire board meeting at lmctv.org under videos. On Monday, County Executive George Latimer sent his 2019 proposed capital budget to the Board of Legislators. Highlights include tackling a backlog and prioritizing projects that improve residents' quality of life. To see the proposed budget, visit the Westchester government website on your screen now. Ralph's Ices, Italian Ices, is returning to our area, this time sharing part of the old Payless location on Mamaroneck Avenue with Sobel, which will offer acai bowls and smoothies. Also on the avenue and coming soon is Milk and Cookies, a cookie cafe and cereal bar. All businesses are expecting to open in the spring. As of October 1st, Most 16-year-old offenders will no longer be charged as adults. Most cases will be handled in family courts, and any detention will be in a facility for juveniles. However, those charged with violent felonies or crimes involving weapons, if found guilty, will be classified as adolescent offenders. Last Thursday, October 11th, was National Coming Out Day. In tonight's roundtable, the LOFT and Center Lane explain what this is, how to do it, and where to find local support.
Welcome to the Roundtable. I'm Mike Witch.
And I'm Maura Carlin.
Tonight we're talking about coming out, as in telling someone that you're gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or questioning, just not sure. For most LGBTQ people, it's a momentous, emotional decision.
But it's not something you ever really hear straight people fretting about. Maybe they reveal their orientation in other ways, or maybe it's not necessary. Regardless, we have 3 guests to help us understand coming out and answer our questions and yours. And we hope that when you're watching, you will join our conversation, ask your own questions, share your stories. The contact information is on your screen.
Our guests tonight are Sean Foster Michael, who is a member of Center Lane. That's a program of the Westchester Jewish Community Center. Services. He identifies as a gay teen, and he prefers he, him, and his as personal pronouns. Next to him, Shepard Verbis is the manager of programs and services at the LOFT LGBT Center. Shepard identifies as a trans person and prefers that we use the pronouns they, them, and theirs. And sitting next to me is Ed Fitzpatrick. He's a volunteer at the LOFT, and he runs the 55 and older peer support group. He identifies as a gay man, and he prefers he, him, and his. So welcome all of you, and thank you for spending so much time with us before the show and during this little conversation.
Thank you so much.
So my first question has to do with coming out, what it means. National Coming Out Day was observed in the United States last week, as a matter of fact. Unfortunately, we didn't have a show on October the 11th, so this is the closest we could come to it. So part of why we wanted to do a show today was to talk about National Coming Out, what coming out means. And National Coming Out Day, in my research, I found that it was founded in 1988, and it was founded by 2 activists. And it was supposed to be a day for LGBTQ and allies to take a stand against discrimination, violence, harassment, bullying of LGBT people where they live, where they learn, where they work, and where they pray. And October the 11th, do you know why it was chosen? Because I do. It's the anniversary of the National March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights. So they chose that day, and every year it is observed. So here we are a week later. And one of the things that one of the organizers of the day said is that most people think that they don't know a gay person. And the reality is that everybody knows one gay person. But can you talk a little, Shepard, about the use of the personal pronouns?
Yes, absolutely. So there's a lot of talk around pronouns lately, especially in relation to the trans and gender nonconforming communities. So a pronoun, just so everybody's clear, we all learned it in like 2nd grade.
Sure.
When we took grammar. Pronouns could be she, her, hers, he, him, his. The most common gender-neutral pronoun you might hear would be they, them, theirs. And ze, zir, zirs. There's lots of gender-neutral pronouns that people use. But the reason people, and everybody has pronouns, so it's not just LGBT people, it's not just trans people who are claiming pronouns for themselves. But a pronoun says a lot about how you might identify with your gender. So it doesn't always indicate your gender identity, but most often if you use she, her, hers as pronouns, it might indicate that you're female, right? At least that's kind of like the narrative that we see now. So when you use gender neutral pronouns, you may identify as non-binary or not ascribe to a gender identity or just like them, or there's a lot of different reasons, but it is becoming much more and more popular to see gender neutral pronouns being used in everyday language and in and out of LGBT communities.
And Ed, it's interesting that you are on one end of the table and Sean's at the other end, and there's such an age spread there. So at the Loft, you see all ages,
Oh, yeah.
but at Center Lane, it's just
It's focused on people from ages 13 to 21. So teenagers, preteens, and then young adults.
And your group is,
Well, they're 55 and above.
Right.
But you see all ages mixing in the halls and the library and whatever. We all get along like it's a community. Yeah.
well, the New York metro area is pretty liberal compared to other parts of the country.
Compared to other parts of the country.
So I would think that it might be easier to announce yourself as LGBTQ in this area than,
What do you
than
think?
in other parts.
I would say that that's true for the most part, but I think it's also important to consider that how other people react to one's coming out really depends on the people in your immediate vicinity, like your family and your friends. And I think that it's important to consider that even in a relatively liberal environment like Westchester, there are people who do not accept LGBTQ people as who they are.
Some people don't believe that they should have to come out. Nobody announces I'm heterosexual, why should I announce something else? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, why come out?
Why not be proud about it? It's been an issue that's been pushed back because of shame and everything like that, all negative comments. And now today, it's being accepted for not just a sexual thing, but a life way, a way of living your life.
And
But I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
no, to kind of like bring it into like a larger scheme of people understand coming out as mostly as an LGBT kind of like issue, a rite of passage, but everybody has different identities in their lives that they feel comfortable sharing all the time and not comfortable sharing all the time, and these are different hidden identities like a religion or socioeconomic status is not always evident, so maybe you don't always share that with people. And it's not that you're not proud of your background, it's not that you're not proud of who you are and where you come from, and you're not living authentically and happily. It's just that maybe you don't want to always say, hey, I'm gay, right? And this is my partner, and maybe it doesn't feel so comfortable to you. And there's always these different safety factors that play into coming out and in the different environments that you come out in, and especially for the trans community. But to recognize that coming out is a privilege most of the time. It's if you can come out safely, that's a great thing, but it's not to put shame on people who can't come out and or who don't want to make it so public.
Well, there's also coming out. There's coming out to publicly, but there's also coming out to yourself, which is, I think, a step in the direction of acknowledging who you are.
Yes, absolutely. Just to tell a personal anecdote, when I was in middle school, I was very insecure about a lot of things, my sexuality included. And I really couldn't come to the terms with the fact that I was gay. And not having any role models in that period of my life really increased that sort of source of anxiety for me. So when I was in 8th grade, I actually found YouTube, and there were a lot of creators on YouTube who were in the LGBTQ community, and they lived successful lives without letting their minority status get in the way. And that was definitely a positive impact on me. It definitely had a positive impact. And it gave me role models whom I could relate to and people whose problems I could understand on a deeper level.
We need to take a quick break.
We're going to take a little break after this word from LMC TV. We're going to tell some personal stories. We'll be right back.
Do you know how to request our services? Just go to lmctv.org. Under the service banner, click Forms. In our Forms section, you can apply to be a volunteer, learn about membership, learn about corporate underwriting, request a bulletin board, coverage, DVD dubs, equipment, and PSAs.
It's all a click away at lmctv.org.
Welcome back to our roundtable discussion about coming out as LGBT or Q, lesbian, gay, bisexual, or for you, is the Q queer or questioning? Because I've seen both.
It's either or.
Either or.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a story about coming out. Now you and I are roughly the same age.
Yes.
So in our day, it was a lot different than it was, I imagine, in Shepard's time, growing up as a teen, and now Sean's time.
Right, and when Sean talks about what he just said recently about the going on YouTube,
Yeah.
I didn't have the internet. I didn't have half the equipment to get in touch with the rest of the world that was like me.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a Catholic, Italian, Irish neighborhood. You didn't come out.
No.
No, no.
There was a lot of fear around
Oh,
that
sure,
and shame around
sure.
it. Yeah.
Well, you would shame your family, and you would get hurt if you did. Yeah. People, it was very rough then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sean, what is it like now? You mentioned YouTube. You have role models as well in movies and television shows?
Yes, absolutely. The increased representation of LGBTQ people in the media has definitely had a positive impact on my development as a gay teen. And I think that it's very important to have people to relate to. And in 2018, when I'm growing up now, it's a great time, relative to decades past, to be LGBTQ.
Who is it hardest to tell besides yourself? I ask that of all of you.
Well, that's an. I mean, it depends on your relationships. But for me, it was probably the hardest to tell my mom, because she was kind of the first person. I told my sister first, but she was kind of the first person that I told that I felt had like a huge stake in my life, you know, and could affect changes in my life if that were to be the case. And so that was probably the most nerve-wracking for me.
Was she surprised?
Yes. Yes, she was very surprised.
What about you?
For me, it was one of my closest friends. We were friends since 4th grade, actually, and he had voiced concerns about me years earlier.
Concerns?
Well, concerns that he had years earlier about not understanding what it was like to be gay or how anyone could be gay. And that was something that I really internalized. And that basically led me to believe that he would react negatively if I were to come out to him. And no, in the end, when I did come out to him, it did take him a while to realize what that meant in terms of our relationship. But in the end, it really didn't change anything, and he accepted it with open arms.
What about you, Ed?
I didn't come out until after my marriage was over. I was married for 27 years.
So you were married to a woman?
Yeah. I had 2 kids and 4 grandchildren.
Right.
And I don't know if I've ever just come out and told anybody. I'm just me. And people who know me know I am, and people who don't know me or...
But I assume you had to tell your children or your ex-wife?
No, my daughter, when she got married, I took a man to the wedding. There were no questions, and we get along fine. I watch our kids once a week.
I'm wondering about the effect of schooling and, well, education and maybe church. I mean, you and I have the same Catholic background, and I remember going to school, there was hardly any mention of sexuality.
Yeah.
But the church was very negative about homosexuality. There was no mention of the word gay. So for me, who was a regular churchgoer, it was very negative. And school was the same way. I went to a Catholic high school and elementary school.
I went to a Catholic grammar school, and one of the nuns told me, and I'll never forget it as long as I live, if you really believe what you're doing is right, God knows. Which is totally not Catholic.
Yes.
Just want to add that in. But a nun told me that, and I live by that.
Wow.
not only because in my gay life, but other things that I have to make decisions on and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
And for you, Sean?
I mean, growing up in a relatively socially liberal community, I feel like having teachers who are openly supportive has been very important for my development as a gay teen. There are actually stickers outside the doors that say, this is a LGBTQ-friendly classroom, and those are very, very common in my school. So I knew when I was coming to terms with my own sexuality that there were going to be adults in the school who would be supportive of me. And
Most high schools these days, and certainly colleges, have gay-straight alliances. They go by various names. But I remember when I was teaching, they started a gay-straight alliance, some students did, and there were stickers that said safe space, and it had a rainbow on it.
yes.
And teachers were asked to put it outside their door for students who just wanted to talk or who needed to get away from a situation where they felt threatened. Yeah. So that's helped.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because visibility is really the key, you know. Even if you're not a member of the LGBT community, if you can be visible as an ally, you could change somebody's life, really. Especially if you're an educator or a professional that comes into contact with youth. Although coming out is an issue that, you know, spans the ages. So, because LGBT people constantly come out every day. Every time somebody sees me, I'm coming out, you know, because they have assumptions about who I am based on how I look. So if you can be a supportive person and be visible, wear a rainbow pin, have a rainbow sticker in your window, anything like that, that shows visibly that you're proud to be an ally is really good.
We have, we want to talk about the resources that are available through the LOFT, an organization which is based in White Plains, and then Center Lane, which is based in Yonkers, but also meets in White Plains. And before we get to that conversation, we're going to show a video that celebrates the LOFT, which just had a 35-year anniversary gala. So if we could watch that video, we'll come back and talk about these resources. Welcome back to the round table. That gala was called Resilience. That was the theme when the LOFT celebrated 35 years, started in 1983. And Shepard and Ed, you're both with the LOFT. Tell us a little bit about the organization and what it does.
Sure. So the LOFT LGBT Center is in White Plains, and it serves Westchester County and the surrounding areas. Anybody 18 years old and older, we're the only LGBT center that serves adults in the county. And we have about 40 or so different programs that people can go to. We have peer support groups, social-led groups, assistance and advocacy, education. We provide professional development trainings, and we also do several special events throughout the year. So we're a free center, and we've been around for 35 years.
That's great. And the particular group that you're associated with is the for the older folks.
Right, and during the summer they had a professor come in from a college, and we did writings, a chapter of a book about memoirs,
Yeah.
describing coming out, and there's like 4 stories in a little booklet that's going to be on display in the library, which was very interesting, a lot of fun.
The library has, when I visited, I see books, I see videos.
We have
there's
over
a-
5,000 LGBT books, DVDs in our library at the Loft. The program that Ed was talking about was a program that we did for our senior community, which was a memoir writing program, and he was a great participant in that. And so, yeah, we do have a book that features several stories that the participants of that program wrote, and it's called Fingerprints, and it is at the Loft Library. That showcases a lot of stories about coming out and different issues or events those people in the group wanted to write about.
And the website for people who want to know.
So the
Where to
website is loftgaycenter.org. The Loft also has a resource website that's called lgbtlifewestchester.org. So the loftgaycenter.org website showcases all Loft announcements, Loft groups and programming and everything Loft related, and then lgbtlifewestchester.org is a community-wide resource that showcases all LGBT events and a resource guide, employment opportunities, different things like that.
Okay, Sean, your turn. Now, you're not an official representative of the Center Lane,
No.
but you're a member for how many years?
I have been a member of Center Lane since August of last year.
Okay.
So about 14 months now.
And you meet with them they're based in Yonkers?
Yes, so they have a facility in Yonkers, and from that facility, the goal of WJCS Center Lane is basically to create a community and create a bonding experience for 13 to 21-year-old LGBTQ people in Westchester, right? So we have a bunch of programs at Center Lane. A lot of them are weekly, like group, which is on Fridays, and you can basically just show up and hang out with peers, basically, and be able to create those lasting relationships that really have an impact on one's self-development. And you can there are also programs that are annual. So, for example, there is the Gay Prom that we hold every year in May. It is very beloved. It's been running for about 20 years now. And basically, it's for people who aren't comfortable really being themselves and expressing themselves at their high school's traditional proms. They can basically pay a small fee to come to our alternative gay prom and basically be who they are, be themselves in an environment with their peers.
That's great.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about there's a program called Transparency, and I think, Shepard, you're involved in that as well with Center Lane.
Yeah, so Transparency is a program of Center Lane's, and it meets at the Loft in White Plains, and 2 Center Lane staff people run it, well, 3 actually, and it's a support group, a dual-led support group for parents and youth that identify as trans or gender nonconforming. And so it's the youth meet in one space, the parents and guardians meet in another space, and they each have their own specific support group that they can connect with people and share resources and talk about issues in their lives or successes and celebrate, different things. So it's really good.
There's an annual conference called PrideWorks. We've talked about PrideWorks here. Do you go to PrideWorks, Sean?
I haven't been yet, but I'm planning to go next year.
Okay,
actually.
but I think the Loft is one of the sponsors of PrideWorks, but it's a separate nonprofit organization.
Yeah, yes. PrideWorks is an annual conference for LGBT youth and their supportive adults. And they do loads of workshops, and it's a really, really great event. The Loft actually is hosting an event around education also. It's coming up, it's called the Westchester Trans Forum, and it's on Saturday, November 17th, and it's a free event at the center all about the trans community, and has workshops and a keynote speaker and everything like that too.
And just to mention that PrideWorks, I think it's in March.
Yes.
Used to be in the fall, but now they moved it to the spring.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's at Pace University.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Do these organizations offer advice to people on how to come out, or even to parents, let's say, how to react when your child comes out?
Oh, absolutely. So at Center Lane, You can basically just show up and talk to one of the staff members who is on duty at that time, and basically they're going to be your adult resource in that, I guess, struggle of coming out. So they're going to give you all the advice that you need, and they're going to be able to answer whatever questions you have.
They help you assess
free.
whether it's safe or where are there things like that that you have to
Take
keep
into
in
account.
mind?
Yes, absolutely. Especially concerning people aged 13 to 21, the majority of them are living under the roofs of their parents. So their parents' view of them coming out has an even larger effect on their life and how they can live successfully.
And do you have any advice on how a parent should react when their child comes out to them?
Yay.
Call
To
the
be
Well,
law.
to be honest, I have to say, I don't think anyone has the reaction of, oh, gee, we were hoping that.
Right.
Okay, maybe you know of that.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Some people are very happy. It's all different. Culturally, everything it's all different. But if you're a parent and you have an LGBT child that's coming out to you, just know the process that it takes them to admit it to themselves and then embrace it and then come to you with that information. Know that you're like the sacred person, okay? So like they're trusting you, and it's a huge burden, I guess, if you think about that, like a huge responsibility, but also it's a great feeling of empowerment and for you as like the person that's being told. And know that just be receptive, just ask them what it means to them is a great thing to do, because you can't assume that everybody, when they say gay, they mean the same thing. Just really just try to learn. Just try to learn.
Adding on to what Shep said, it's very important in general for people who are being come out to not let the coming out change the nature of their relationship with that person. Just because this one tidbit of information has been revealed and that person is trusting you doesn't mean that they've changed in any way. And I think that's very important to remember.
And also, probably, parents should realize that, well, anybody coming out should realize that it's not going to be an instant acceptance or instant understanding. It's going to take a while. So allow that time to happen.
Sure.
Ed, you have any final advice?
Are parents allowed to come to the loft to learn about it, right? Didn't we have something where the parents would come
Yeah,
with the
certainly.
kids?
So the loft we never ask, we don't say, there's no membership card that you say, oh, I'm gay, I can come in here, So everybody's welcome. Allies are welcome at the loft. PFLAG, which is a great group that it meets once a month at the loft, and it's for parents and friends
and family of lesbians and gays.
Yeah, that's
Did I
what
get
it
that
stands
right?
for.
Right.
Yes, and so that meets at the loft. We have transparency that meets at the loft, which is of course for parents, and we welcome allies wholeheartedly. If you want to come and learn more about the community, we have allies that are present at our center.
And we shouldn't end before I say that both Center Lane is sponsored by Westchester Jewish Community Services, and the Loft and they're both nonprofits.
Yes.
So anyone out there who would like to support these organizations, all donations, I'm sure, will be gratefully
Definitely.
accepted.
Absolutely.
Yes, all the time.
Thank you so much for spending time talking with us tonight about coming out. We could talk a longer time, but we're short right now.
We have news stories to get to.
We have more stories.
And we're just going to remind you that next Thursday, our Congressman, Representative Elliot Engel, will be our guest here for a wide-ranging discussion of representing this community, what's going on in Washington, and really anything that you want to ask. So you can email your questions in early or tune in during the show, however you're watching it. But participate and find out, get the answers to what you want to know. And again, we'd like to thank our guests this evening and you viewers for watching. Stay tuned for more of The Local Live coming right up.
I watch The Local Live so that I can ask questions about my community.
Caller, go ahead.
I watch so I can find out what's going on the go. Because I catch up at any time, from anywhere, and see any show. Shh.
You tell us, we air it. This is the local.
The Her Honor Mentoring Program in Westchester pairs high school students with professional women in the area. LMC TV was at the launch of the program's 12th season.
The Larchmont Shore Club hosted the launch of the Her Honor Mentoring Program's 12th season. New mentees from 9 Westchester high schools met with professionals in various fields, serving as their mentors for the first time.
Back in 2007, we started Her Honor with 8 mentees and 1 high school. Today we welcome 71 mentees and 80 mentors.
Her Honor Mentoring gives female high school students the unique experience of being apprentices at their mentor's workplace, having resources such as life skill workshops and simply asking for advice from women who have been where they are.
I chose the law. I chose not to let anyone else define who I was. What I hope for you, and one of the dreams that I had when Nicole and I hatched this program 13 years ago, was that we would give you the equipment so that no one but you defines you. And if you let anybody else define you or make you uncomfortable, that's on you. So what our hope again for this program is that we give you some of the tools that if anybody makes you feel uncomfortable, you're going to know how to deal with it. It's their problem, but it's yours to fix. And with confidence, you can deal with it. And that's what we hope to give you in Her Honor Mentoring. The confidence in knowing how to dress, knowing your carriage, knowing how to stand, knowing how to look somebody in the eye, knowing how to shake a hand, knowing how to go in for an interview, knowing that if somebody is acting inappropriately to you in an interview, you know how to quietly and firmly put them in their place.
I'm so happy to be participating again this year. I think this is 10 years in running. I've known you and been totally privileged to be part of this program, and I feel like as much as I teach these girls is as much as I learn from them. So it's always a blessing to spread, you know, the knowledge that women should always be happily giving to each other. I feel like a lot of times we're in competition, and really we should be coming together to work together.
Yes, I totally agree. And Christine has been mentoring with us for 10 years, and just fantastic, the skills she teaches and how to show up to a situation with confidence and be professional, and we're blessed to have you.
Women supporting each other is at the core of the Her Honor Mentoring Program, hoping to give young women the tools to navigate the world we live in. For The Local Live, I am Sibylla Chipaziwa.
This week in sports, the Rhinebeck football team trailed Haldane early in their homecoming game. Senior Ryan Ramos gave the Black Hats an instant jolt when he returned the kickoff for a touchdown and scored the 2-point conversion in the LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
Varsity Sports Champlin will kick off once again, second time as they kicked off to start the game, and another short kick, but this one will squib all the way to the 20-yard line. It'll be picked up and breaking free and going all the way to the house. Ryan Ramos at the 10, and he'll score untouched for the Black Hat touchdown. Ryan Ramos took 12 seconds untouched. Squib kick, and that's an answer, Elijah, for Rhinebeck.
Yeah, huge response by Ryan Ramos, taking it all the way to the end zone for the touchdown. Special teams is a big difference maker a lot of times in football games, and Ramos just made a huge play, Charlie.
No kicker, so they'll go for 2. in motion, flip to Ramos, and he will get around the edge, and he'll score the two-point conversion and tie it at 2. So Ramos gets by, made a nice move to shake free of Nate Allen.
And here is what's happening around town. Get into the fall and Halloween spirit at the Scarecrow Festival on Saturday, October 20th and Sunday, October 21st. The event will occur after the Ragamuffin Parade in front of the Larchmont Public Library. Enjoy delicious food at the Fall Food Truck Festival. Saturday, October 20th at Memorial Park in Larchmont from noon to 4 p.m. Come and visit the LMC TV staff, who will have the Fly Like a Superhero green screen booth for all children to enjoy. The Village of Mamaroneck Spooktacular is on Sunday, October 21st from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Harbor Island Park. Celebrate Halloween with our neighborhood kids through window painting, a costume parade, a haunted house, and more. For more information, check the Spooktacular Facebook page. If you have any questions or comments on the proposed county budget, there will be 2 public hearings on Tuesday, October 23rd at 2 p.m. at the Mercy College campus in Yorktown Heights and at 7 p.m. at the Elizabeth Haub School of Law at Pace University in White Plains. The fundraising drive around a mural in our town center studio continues. We plan to use the funds towards a production van, which will give LMC TV the ability to broadcast community events live on location and more. Thank you to all who have donated. The mural is still missing some pieces. Individuals as well as groups can help by visiting lmctv.org/communitymural.
We would like to thank local artist Jamie Lynn at Made, an art studio in Mamaroneck, for creating a beautiful community mural. Place your piece in this mural by contributing to LMC TV, the community connection that brings you local board meetings, varsity sports, and your local news. Please contribute to this community mural by going to our website and clicking on Donate. Each contributor will be listed next to the mural when it is complete. We value your appreciation of what we do. Become a single donor or as a group, go to lmctv.org. The only piece missing is you.
You can now reserve time and space to record a podcast. LMC TV staff have just launched their own LMC Cast. Have a listen at lmctv.org/podcast. The 4th episode is being recorded tomorrow. You can also learn how we can help you produce your own show. Thank you to all who have expressed interest in this exciting and growing medium.
This is DeMonica Diablo, and you're watching Terra TV on LMC TV.
The Local Live was not on the air last week as LMC TV staff headed up to Schenectady to envision the future of public access stations with other such centers in the Northeast.
LMC TV staff headed to Schenectady last week for the Alliance for Community Media Northwest Region Conference. Rolling in deep, we attended a trade show with the latest technology and participated in 2 panels to see how to cut costs and how to survive in the future. The youth seem to be the most common answer to this conundrum.
If I'm out in the woods and I'm facing a bear, right? And I'm looking at this bear, 2 things are happening. One, either I'm going to run or I'm gonna stand there and I'm gonna face this bear. But everything is going through, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure it out. I'm sweating, my palms are sweaty. I don't know whether I'm scared or this adrenaline is going through. And then all of a sudden, while I'm facing this bear, right? Somebody pops out the bushes with an algebra question.
Thank you.
She said, hey, look, what's up? I'm not thinking about the algebra question. I'm thinking about the bear.
That's right.
That's what I'm thinking about. That's my focus. How can I focus on an algebra question or anything that you want me to focus on and I got a bear in front of me? That's important. So I deal with the bear. That's what I deal with. I'm not dealing with the algebra question. We can talk about that later because atmosphere and culture plays a part in how kids respond. If the atmosphere is conducive for kids to respond, they will. Even if it's during time, even if they don't respond right away. But kids eventually will respond.
All work and no play makes LMC TV a dull staff. With the Found Footage Festival giving us some laughs and a jam-packed 2 days, it helped along the way to make new friends, to see some old faces, and to take in the historic Proctor's Theater in the Electric City.
We love hearing from our viewers. Email comments, inquiries, and even news tips, pictures and videos to thelocallive@lmctv.org. And next week, we will have Congressman Elliot Engel live on our roundtable. Send in your questions to thelocallive@lmctv.org. Remember, if you ever miss Thursday's live broadcast, you can catch replays of The Local Live twice a day on this channel and find story clips on our YouTube channel. We are back to streaming live on Facebook, so be sure to follow us there too. Thank you for watching The Local Live. I'm Rebecca Berman, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.